The Nun is directed by Corin Hardy, and it's the 5th movie in the Conjuring franchise.
Yeah, this movie stars Demian Bashir, Teresa Farmiga, Jonas Blaquette, and Bonnie Aarons. And this movie is about a nun who decides to commit suicide. So a priest and a young woman who is right on the edge of saying her final vows of becoming a nun are sent to investigate. But little do they know, they're in for a treat in the form of a nun. Okay? And this is a movie that I would say, what was the first Conjuring probably? Was she in the first Conjuring?
Yeah, I think she was introduced in the first Conjuring.
I'm pretty sure she was at least in the second one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she was in the second.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was brought up in the first one, and then she was more in the second Conjuring, and now she gets her own movie.
Yeah, so this movie's been built up for quite a while now. And, I was hoping, maybe this movie would have something good because it's been built up. So maybe they were planning it all these years, right? But I feel like they didn't plan this out until about a year ago. Because this movie was terrible.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with it, which we'll go into. But I think one of the main issues I have with it, well, I mean, not the main issue, but one of the main issues I have with it is that it's a prequel, and it was supposed to explain where the nun came from.
Yeah.
But they didn't really explain what she was, why she posed as a nun, where she came from, or anything, like what she is or anything.
Yeah.
So
and
it felt like it was like, why make it a prequel if they're not going to explain it that well?
Yeah, like they didn't even really have any characters from the original one. Like at least like you watch like Annabelle. Like the first Annabelle wasn't that great. The second one was decent. But like those movies, whether you liked them or not, they tried their best to get into the actual universe of The Conjuring. They had a reason. The characters were actually in those movies, But this movie, there was nobody from there, so all it was just showing past hauntings from this nun.
Yeah, which that's one of the main things that I hate about this movie is that the main girl in this movie, I forgot what the actress's name is, but she looked exactly like the girl who plays, I think her name is Lorraine in the Conjuring 1 and 2. She looked exactly like a young version of her. And pretty much, and like the entire movie, I thought it was that character.
Yeah, she looked exactly like her.
And like, it wasn't until afterwards that my sister Brittany looked it up on IMDb, and that it's not the same character.
Yeah.
And like, especially since, I mean, I won't say what the scene is, but at the end there's a tie-in to the rest of the Conjuring, to the first Conjuring movie.
Yeah.
And it would have made that tie-in would have made a lot more sense if the character from this movie was Lorraine from the Conjuring movies. Also,
it was just a huge missed opportunity, considering this nun was following Lorraine in I think Conjuring 2, just following her. And like, you don't really know why. You would think, oh, maybe they have a past history.
Yeah, and it would have made sense. They would have just had it. And they had an actress who looked exactly like her.
Yeah. And thankfully, that actress, who was the main actress in this movie, is actually pretty good at it. She was actually a pretty good actress, I will say that. I don't have any problem with her acting. I have a huge problem with her character. I have a huge problem with every character in this movie, and that is because there are no characters.
Yeah, a lot of which ties into what you said, a lot of the writing was pretty horrid.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many times where, like, they just said, like, characters spoke things that, it's like, why would anybody say that? Like, I think one of the lines was like, there's a time for prayer and a time for action. This is a time for action. Like,
I know.
I feel like the writers thought it was good writing.
Yeah.
Which is written by James Wan, so I'm surprised that it was written so horribly. But like, it's just like, why? And then like a lot of it was like really on the nose. Like there's one time when the priest was like, well, maybe these books will shed a light on what we're looking for.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you don't have to say that, just show us.
And they did it a lot of times. They had a few scenes of just explaining things to us, things they could just show us from visual storytelling, which it seems like that's just, like, people just throwing that away nowadays in horror movies. Like, visual storytelling is such a big deal. You don't have to tell us everything. You don't have to spoon feed us everything. You just have to show little things here and there, and it just kind of gives us, oh, that's what's going on. That's what's going on here. Because a lot of horror movies, and especially these dumb ones, because, these dumb horror movies, they're just not really going for anything else except for the jump scares. And this movie has a ton of them. This movie has so many jump scares, it's insane. and they're not good jump scares. A lot of people hate jump scares. I don't mind jump scares here and there. I don't mind well-crafted jump scares because there is such a thing as a well-crafted jump scare. But the thing is if you're going to have a movie that only has jump scares and nothing creepy, it just comes off as boring. You know, because that's what this movie was. Like, so many jump scares. Like, random jump scares, but there was nothing creepy about the movie. I was never creeped out.
Right.
You know? I was only just like bam, like a jump scare, like, oh goodness, okay, let's go back to.
Yeah, and I feel like some scenes could have been creepy. Like there is potential for some scenes, like whenever the thing drags him into the coffin.
Yeah.
Like there's I could see how things could be creepy in this movie. They just weren't executed very well. And one thing that was sort of frustrating throughout this movie was that there was a couple of instances where there's plot points that were brought up and they were repeated throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But then, and you thought it was going to lead up to something, but the payoff just was pretty lame and disappointing. Like, for example, there's one, how the lady, the main girl, she hasn't said her vows yet, and they kept repeating that over and over again. They kept saying, oh, she hasn't said her vows yet, and you thought it was going to lead into some epic moment at the end, which I won't say what happens at the end, but the payoff that happened for it was like, really, why did you have to have this whole thing, and why do you have to do this now?
Yeah, and then the priest had this backstory, which I don't know how much I want to go into it. It just had to do with a boy, and it kept popping up over and over again. This backstory he had, this haunted past that he had with with this boy, and it kept popping up, and you would think, okay, maybe because it was something that he felt guilty about, maybe by the end of this movie, there's something's going to happen, some kind of resolution's going to happen. But like nothing comes up of anything. It's just like that. Nothing happens at all. And at least with that one, like there's something that happens, but with this one, there's like nothing that happens at all.
Right.
And even with the backstory, it's just like any other horror movie what they're doing nowadays with their characters, where they feel like they need to have something for their characters, so they just give them something like little tiny bit, like, oh, this guy had a backstory with this kid, and then like nothing else.
Right.
Oh, this girl's a nun, and she's this girl's about to be a nun. Nothing else. Yeah. The characters never, and then there's this other guy that comes to the group with them, who I don't know who he is at all.
Right.
Like he doesn't have anything. Like nothing's told about him. Yeah. And these other characters are like they're like barely anything at all, and this guy's nothing. And so all three of these people are like together, and I don't know what they're trying to be. Yeah. The girl and the guy, it almost seems like there's like something there. I mean, she might be young. I don't actually know how young she is in this movie, but like it just seems like they're trying to show something, but they actually don't do any. It's
they try to stick in humor to this movie. It's just like never landed like at all. Every time they tried, it's like why? It wasn't cringy, but it wasn't funny like at all.
And I can't really think of much that I actually like about this movie. The main thing I like about this movie is the acting from the girl. And the acting from the other guy the young guy was okay. It wasn't bad. The acting from the priest I didn't like. Acting from all the other people I didn't like. And that's really all I can say about this movie. There's not a lot I can say that I actually liked about this movie at all.
Yeah, and talk about the boy that kept popping up from the guy's past. It was almost like they felt like they couldn't show their nun too much. So let's just throw in this other random thing that we can have pop up every now and then. Give like the nun Pennywise powers.
Well, guys, this movie was pretty awful. I didn't think it was going to be that good, but I kind of thought it might have been at least entertaining in some way. It might have actually had something to it. I was hoping, because after all these years, I was hoping they would have built up something good, especially since the Conjuring movies are so good. Annabelle 2, whatever. Whatever. They're Annabelle 2 is fine, but the Conjuring movies are good. You would think maybe building off of these, that at least something else would be like really good. But like this right here, I'm gonna say was probably worse than the first Annabelle. Yeah,
there's not much good to say about this movie. There's a lot of missed opportunities with it being a prequel. I mean, they kind of touched on where the nun came from, but they didn't really explain it as much as they needed to for it to be a prequel. And it was just like horribly written. Just like so many things were wrong with this movie.
So we are going to say that The Nun is 25% awesome. Well, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment and tell us what you thought about The Nun. Maybe you liked it a little more than us. And also, give us a ranking of all the movies in the Conjuring franchise so far.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2 Awesome Men.
And as always, thank you so much for watching, and you will see us later.